Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, and also good evening, depending on where you are. How is everybody doing? Probably need to give it a sec for everybody to stream in, but for those of you who are here now, one's in the chat. Feldral. Glad to hear you're doing good. Jose. Also glad to hear you're doing good. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes just to give people time to react to their notifications. And then we'll get started. But spoiler for those of you who are here, unfortunately, Ricky has had a bit of an emergency. He had to take a last-minute flight, so we will be guest list today. However, I will go through some of the things that I've got sort of queued up, but today's going to be more of a Q&A with you, the viewer. Also, how's the audio? Type 1 in the chat if the audio is sounding good, sounding crisp. Okay, we got a 1. That's good, that's good. Yo, Jordan. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Okay, got some more 1s. All right, I'll go ahead and just get started. So, quick little note. Our guest, Ricky from Pixels, is not going to be joining us today. He's got a bit of a family emergency going on. So we're going to do a quick Q&A after I sort of go through the conceptual part of what I was going to build for him. No actual building will happen on the onboarding process today, but I'll show you the sort of top-down conceptual side of things, and then we'll get going. We'll get going after that on the Q&A. Okay, real quick. So Ricky had an emergency, won't be here, but I can show you some of the things that we were going to build. So last week, I received an email that was as follows. Essentially, Ricky was telling us about his onboarding strategy and his process and his workflow, and we were going to build the following for him. Ricky, if you guys are not familiar with, is the mastermind behind Pixels, which is a design agency for the Beehive newsletter platform. He's got several plans on his website, and we were going to run some automations for him based on what people subscribe to. So this is his current offering. And on his back end, he's using Asana and Stripe, which, if you guys are not familiar with, Asana is sort of a project management tool, and Stripe is, of course, the payment processor. So this is what we were thinking about. Based on what based on what a client purchases, either package 1, 2, or 3, a transaction which happens in Stripe will sort of trigger a tripwire that creates a client project within Asana, and then that will also duplicate another template project into the Asana project that the client now has access to. And then finally, a couple videos will get dropped into that Asana project, which will sort of walk them through what Asana, or how to use Asana. So it's a bit of a hands-off, just, let's create this project as soon as someone has made the purchase. Let's get them inside of Asana ASAP, and then let's get them watching these videos, which will teach them exactly how to use Asana and therefore how to put work into his system so that he can deliver on designs ASAP. So let's this is maybe not so great of a visualizer, so let's try and visualize this. So we know that he wants to go from sale in Stripe all the way to a client that is creating tasks in Asana. We know that that is the sort of high-level goal that he's trying to accomplish here. So how might we do something like that? So let's try to just break it down abstractly, and then next week when he comes onto stream, we'll actually build the whole thing. So from Stripe, we have to think in terms of inputs. So from Stripe, we know a few things. Every time someone makes a purchase in Stripe, we know their name, we know their email, we likely also have their phone number, and we have their address. That's sort of just a basic query that we can call on Stripe to have them return that sort of data. We know that we get this. Okay, we know that in order for a client to fully get onboarded onto Asana, we need a few things. We need to know what their name is, because we need to know which projects belong to which persons, which clients. We also need their email. Where are we going to go to invite them to this new project that we've just built? That's sort of the thought process here. So we know that we have an email from Stripe and a name from Stripe, and we know that Asana requires both of those things. So we're going to sort of connect that together and make sure that everything is in place before we sort of finalize that connection. And what do I mean by make sure everything's in place? So let's go back and sort of break things down. So when a client purchases package 1, 2, or 3, a transaction which should happen in Stripe, we need to sort of account for this. So how do we do something like that? Well, we know that Stripe gives us their name, email, phone number, and address, but perhaps what we may also need to add to Stripe is which product the customer purchases. So this could be a SKU, this could be any sort of identifier that we're going to need to figure out which product someone has bought so that we can trigger a workflow. Okay, so based on this information, we're going to say, we're actually going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to bring this all the way over here because we need an intermediary step. And this intermediary step, is going to be watch for sale. Or, sorry, classify sale. And obviously that just means what type of product did this person purchase? Is it is it service 1, 2, or 3? And we know that because when a Stripe transaction occurs, we can figure out which product they purchased. So based on this, is type 1. This would be our logic gate here. So we're trying to figure out, okay, what type was it? If it's type 1, and let's say type 1 is the quote-unquote standard plan, then we need to create a create project in Asana using standard subscription template. And Ricky has specified that he's got a number of templates that he's using, and we're just going to assume that that's true, and that if we make the check and it is of type 1, and if it is of type 1, we're just going to duplicate that template project that is assigned to all people who use type 1. So at this point, we've created a project in Asana using the standard template, standard subscription template, but nobody is in this project. So we're going to have to find a way around that. We're going to have to resolve for that. And we're going to invite new client into Asana project. And in order to do this, we know that this requires an email. Fortunately, we have the email from all the way back here. So we're just going to pass that email into here because we know that this requires an email. And now all of a sudden we have a new client within the new Asana project. Now, he had one other requirement, which was we also need to drop a video that he's pre-recorded into the new Asana project. So the way that Asana works, for those of you who don't know, it works on a sort of a ticket system. So every time a new ticket or a task is created, there is context. And within the sort of Asana API, which is what we're going to be using, we can create a task. And one of the parameters for creating a task is specifying, well, what are we going to put in the task? In order to create a task, we have to have things to put in the task. So in this case, we know that Ricky will provide a URL to a video that he's pre-recorded. So we're just going to call this a YouTube video asset, and we're going to sort of pass this in. We're going to pass this in. So now we have a new project in Asana. The client is invited to that project, and a YouTube video has been pasted into the first task in that Asana project. So before this user can even check their email for a notification, a confirmation that the subscription has been successful, all of this has been complete. And at this point, now Ricky hasn't explicitly mentioned this, but at this point, it would be, in my own personal opinion, that we need to send a notification email. At this point, the client has very likely not downloaded or visited Asana yet. We can just remove that. And so they're going to need to check their email. Well, they're most likely going to check their email, and they're going to find a link to the new Asana project. So something that I failed to mention right here is every time you every time you create a new project in Asana, upon successful completion, Asana will generate a URL to the new project. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that brand new URL that Asana has generated so kindly for us, and we're going to drop it into that email. So now, oh my goodness, there we go. Now, this email contains the following information: URL to new Asana project, video of instructions. And, well, I mean, in their inbox as well, they're also going to see confirmation of purchase. So right off the bat, and you can roll it all into one. So before they can even check their email, after triggering a triggering a sale in Stripe, so they come here, they click on any one of these buttons, they complete this Stripe checkout page. When they click on subscribe down here, all of this is going to run. We're going to figure out what kind of project it is. We're going to create a new project in Asana. We're going to invite them to the Asana project using the email from Stripe. We're going to drop in a YouTube video that we've pre-recorded into Asana as the first task to sort of let them know what this platform is about and how to use it and how to schedule work for Ricky. And then we're also going to drop them an email notification that will wrap all of the information that we've generated into one, and that will sort of be the entire automation. So all this happens when you click this button. Okay, that's sort of the high-level overview. So I would love it if you guys had any questions. I know that I didn't cover the different situations, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly go over that real quick. If right here, this is a sort of logic block, so we're making a yes/no. In this case, people aren't always going to buy the sort of base subscription, so we can create another logic node here, which basically says, oh, okay, it wasn't a basic subscription. Is it a less basic subscription? Is it a more premium one? Is it the pro version? And it might be easier if I don't simply type it, is basic and is pro. And we know that this is looking neat. What's the name of the whiteboard app you're using? This is Excalidraw. One of my favorite programmer creators put me onto this, and it is pretty excellent. Okay, so really quickly, if you have more than one like digital product, a different sort of subscription type, you can essentially you can account for that with another sort of if statement. So we know that when a sale in Stripe is made, we know what kind of purchase they made, and so we check that purchase based on a few factors. In this case, he has basic and pro, and then also a roast me. We're just going to talk about the subscriptions. So if it's not basic, then it must be pro because it doesn't have anything else. And if it is pro, then we're going to go ahead and trigger sort of the same function here. Generate a new project using in Asana using the pro template, and then it's going to sort of do this exact same thing as before. We're going to invite that new client into Asana project using the email from their Stripe sale. That is going to go into a brand new task. We drop a YouTube video in there that we've pre-recorded, and then we send them a notification sort of wrapping up all of that. Hey, thank you for purchasing. Here's a video of everything that you're going to need to get started, and here's a link to that new Asana project that we've created so you can get started right away. So within, I don't know, under 10 minutes, under 3 minutes, however often he wants to run this thing, you can get all of the onboarding stuff essentially squared away with just a click of this button. Okay, I think that's enough talking for now. I would love it if anyone had questions or concerns about what this is. And then next week we're actually going to build this thing. But this is sort of the thought process behind this onboarding workflow. Any questions? Any questions? Thiago Lucas, where do you usually run / deploy the automation? So for me, I personally like the make.com platform. This is sort of what scenarios look like in make.com, which was typically what they call a sort of deployment. So this automation here would be a scenario in the case of make. Gradient Mesh asks, how many people would you have to be onboarding every week for this setup to make sense time-wise? I guess it depends on how busy you are and how much you value your time. I suppose if you're onboarding, I suppose this whole process takes no more than 15 minutes to do manually. So it sort of depends. If it were me, this is like not a super high priority. It is very high priority, but it's not necessarily, what's the word? It's not like very critical. Maybe that's not even the right word either. It's more so like you want to be doing things that bring people into your system depending on what your marketing looks like. In this case, my guess is that if you were Ricky, you'd probably want to focus more on sort of top of funnel and less so on this like managerial side of getting everybody set up and having to answer a bunch of questions one-on-one and kind of draining into the time that he could be using to, make content, to write tweets, to do whatever he has to do. This is just sort of, like Jordan is saying, a bit of an annoying process that you have to do every single time someone joins. It's not very sexy. It's kind of just a fact of life that you kind of have to do that. And so, I don't know, it just makes more sense to set up, I think, ASAP if you believe that your product is going to scale, because I think a great little thought experiment is what happens if a piece of content that you create goes extremely viral one night while you're asleep, and you wake up to like 400, 500 new signups, and people are chomping at the bit to get onboarded. I think that becomes a way bigger problem then. So you're mostly just setting yourself up for success, and because it would be so much worse for success to find you and have you not be ready than it would be for you to sort of react to it. Because how are you going to find someone to build all of this for you on a same day? You're not. So it's more so a preparing for scale proactively versus reacting. Right, exactly. Just as Jordan is saying. This automation doesn't take very long, and then you see a return on your investment pretty quick. Okay, does anyone want me to go over sort of what I've built here? Does anyone have any questions about how it works? The different inputs, the different outputs, what's possible, what's not possible. Are any of you doing anything onboarding-wise? How are you guys doing onboarding currently? Patrick Laughlin. Can you make a scraper type bot for lead generation for business-to-business type sales generation? I'm sure you could. That's not really within my area of expertise. With the new GPT-4V API, you can do a lot with scraping, because you no longer need to scrape the HTML data. You can just take screenshots of websites and scrape it that way, which can be pretty powerful depending on what you're looking for. That's just an option. Yeah, Patrick, where are you trying to scrape leads from? You got a source? Are the leads here in the room with us? Patrick says, I have a huge list of companies just trying to find an easy way to scrape thousands of websites to see if they meet certain criteria. Okay, can you define this criteria a bit more? Can you maybe perhaps drop one of these websites into the chat? I'll have a look and I can see what's possible. Feldral says, yes, a little onboarding. For instance, after contract signature and after payment and payment info collection. Okay, so you are working on onboarding stuff, so this is relevant. What are you using for onboarding currently? What is your onboarding, like, what are your tools? Patrick Laughlin says, yes, I can make an Excel and CSV file. I'm specifically searching manufacturing plants to see if they have any job openings. That should be pretty doable. Most websites, they just have like, it'll be like website.com/ like hiring or something. So you can just take all of your, like you can go after the low-hanging fruit here. You can take all of your different websites, add like /hiring/ join us to them, whether or not those sites actually exist or not, and then go through and here, let me just let me go ahead and try to map this out. So we know that we have a website which is just the sort of base URL. So we'll have like example website.com. And our goal here, scrape websites for hiring openings, or job openings, I should say. So we'll classify this on a yes/no basis at first. That's what we care about. And we know that we have a website, which in this case we'll just say is website.com. Well, generally, we also know that hiring pages on websites are at the /hiring subdomain. Okay, we know that pages on websites have the hiring subdomain, so our plan of action is we visit website.com/hiring. After we visit them, we take a screenshot, send screenshot to ChatGPT Vision, ask, are there any job openings on this website? That's what we're going to ask ChatGPT. Record ChatGPT's response and update your CRM accordingly. So we know that our job is to look for new job openings. We're going to classify it on a yes or no. Does this website have a opening, yes or no? We have all the websites, and we can kind of make a guess that the hiring pages are on the /hiring subdomain. So then we visit that website, take a screenshot, send the screenshot to ChatGPT Vision, ask, are there any job openings on this website? Record ChatGPT's response and update your CRM accordingly. So Patrick, what would be really interesting right now is I could show you sort of how we can prototype something like that. So if you've got an actual website that I can go to right now, I will show you exactly how I would build this. Okay, in the meantime, Feldral, DocuSign, Stripe, and user creation in product. That's what you're using for onboarding. So it's pretty similar to what we're doing, or to what Ricky was doing as well, just minus the DocuSign. So user creation in product is a little bit vague, so it's hard for me to know whether or not it's actually possible to build this. So much of what is possible and what is not possible is dependent on something called APIs. So if you look up any sort of product, let's use Asana in this case, and you just add the word API. If you're not very technical, an API is essentially a way for people who are technical to build applications with their program. So usually you can find out if a product you're using has an API by just searching for it, and then this probably gets a lot more complex. I don't expect you guys to understand this, but essentially what this eventually translates to is on a no-code automation platform such as make.com. If I want to create a new Asana automation, I can connect to them, and I have access to all of their APIs. All their endpoints is what they're called. So I can list all the tasks within a certain project or workspace. I can get a task and get all the information behind that task. Who is it assigned to? When is it due? What's the name of the task? I can update a task if I want to change the name, if I want to change the person it's assigned to. I can watch for new projects. When a new project occurs, do this. When in Ricky's case, it would be when a new project occurs. If Ricky is like really scaling, we can send a notification via Slack, perhaps, if that's what he decides to use, to project managers that he might have on his team. We can duplicate a project. That's really important. We're probably going to use that because we do know that Ricky has project templates, and these project templates are what we're going to be duplicating to create new projects. Yeah, we have all of these different endpoints, and these different endpoints are a result of Asana directly building their application to make it accessible for developers to build on top of, which is one of the reasons why I really recommend Asana, by the way. They're a great project management tool. They've got a lot of flexibility for people like me to build things that'll save you hundreds of hours a year. Whoops. Yeah, so Patrick, this would be my recommendation here. Actually, you know what? I could probably come up with my own. Let's see. Is Google hiring these days? Oh, they sure are. Okay, so there's a ton of jobs that appear to be open at Google. Let's use them as an example. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open ChatGPT on a different window because I don't want you guys to see the things I've been searching on there out of my own privacy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring this guy in here. Oh, wait a minute. This is on a private window, so I have to go private as well. Okay, I've got ChatGPT open here, and we've got this right here. I'm going to take a screenshot of this web page, and I'm going to save that. Call it Google Hiring. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drop this into ChatGPT and ask it a very, very simple question. So I've got the picture right here, and I'll ask, this is a hiring page for a company. Are there any job openings? Respond with yes, if so, and no, if not. Don't reply with anything else. Okay, I guess the upload for this picture is going to take a while. I'm not sure why, but I cannot send the message yet. Maybe I'll have to drop it in again. There we go. Yes. Okay. So based on this screenshot that we've taken, ChatGPT has identified that there are indeed job openings at this website. So it wouldn't be a huge stretch to take this little function that we've developed, this little prompt, and collect this response here and drop it into some sort of CRM. So let me take this screenshot real quickly and drop it in here. Okay, let me catch up on chat. Feldral. Seems I'll have to have something made in product as an endpoint. Else that idea of slackness on a task sounds like the next best bet. Yeah, so if you're making a custom product and you need to implement your own endpoint, that's going to be a bit of an endeavor. That's going to be kind of tough. My personal opinion is that so many of these like quote unquote free, almost free tools like Asana, Slack, I think there's a lot that we can do with them currently, and I don't think we have fully explored the capabilities yet. All right, Patrick, you still here? You, do you understand the sort of prototype that I've built here? Do you understand how this system will all sort of fit together? All right. In that case, we're just going to move on. I guess something else I could talk about is Langsmith. This is just something that I've been using myself personally in my own workflow, and I think it's something worth talking about because I think it's pretty interesting. For those of you who don't know, Langsmith is a sort of collaborative hub where people can come together and share prompts that they've designed. So for example, one of the prompts that I was looking at is a onboard email generation prompt for like a SaaS company. So essentially how this works is you provide it with a few bits of information. And if I can get this to fit within the screen, that'll make it easier. That's the prompt template. Oh, I need to open this in the playground. Okay, so if you provide it with a topic, a word count, and some context, it will generate a massive, it will generate a SaaS onboarding email. So let's just give it some test data. Let's say this is for Ricky. So Ricky is doing, what is he doing? He's doing productized design service for Beehive users. Let's try to keep this short, so we'll keep it at around 500 words. And for context, we're just going to go to his website, pixels.ponder.co, and look for some text here. Sure. And then we're going to select GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct. And we're going to see what it generates us. Ooh, incorrect API key. Let's see. Why might that be? It might just be because I revoked this key. Okay, let me go ahead and grab a new one, and I can demonstrate how this works. Okay. So I just got to generate a new key here. We're going to call this LangChain. All right, there we go. So with this prompt alone, we've been able to generate the following text. Dear username, as an existing Beehive user, you already know the power of email marketing for growing your business. But have you ever struggled with designing a visually appealing and effective newsletter? We understand that finding reliable freelancers or expensive agencies can be a daunting task, causing delays and draining your budget. That's where Pixels comes in. We provide a productized design service specifically for Beehive users like you. As you know, a well-designed newsletter can make all the difference in attracting and retaining subscribers. But what if we told you that our service not only saves you time and money, but also delivers stunning newsletter brands that help you grow? With Pixels, you can say goodbye to the headache of searching for the right designer and the stress of constantly negotiating prices. Our flat monthly fee includes unlimited revisions, ensuring that you are completely satisfied with the final product. Plus, our team of experienced designers understands the importance of staying true to your brand and delivering high-quality designs that will make your newsletter stand out. Don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied Beehive users have seen a significant increase in subscriber engagement and conversion rates after using our productized design service. And that is the end of the 500 word count. So there's a little bug right there. But that is LangChain. So if you've ever been low on inspiration, give that a shot. Try that out, because you can find some really cool stuff in here. And this would be very, very relevant to what Ricky is building, and not at all difficult to incorporate into something like this. Something like this. Okay, let me get caught up on chat. Patrick, sorry my chats aren't going through. That's all right. They are now. Can I automate that scraping using Make? And I would ideally like to get job titles as well. Yeah, you can totally automate this scraping through Make. What we did here in ChatGPT with this sort of visual upload is something that we have access to in no-code platforms like Make.com. This is just one of their endpoints. So in this case, what you're going to need to figure out how to do is figure this part out, which is how do we visit a website and then take a screenshot of that website, and then is that screenshot going to be in the format that GPT Vision endpoint wants it to be in? So this is going to be a bit of a tough thing for you to figure out. Does it require 4? I understand that could get costly doing thousands per month. It does require 4. You're worried that the screenshots may not get all the job listings as well. Yeah, that's a good point. There may be cheaper ways to do it, but the cheaper ways are going to be more complex. So from my understanding, if you want to capture all the job listings, we're going to have to go a more traditional route and look at all of the HTML inside and sort of piece together the job openings like that. But that gets really tricky because on each different website, the format for the job is different. Some websites will just include the title and have no description until you go into the actual job listing, and then the description is sort of there. So that's kind of difficult, and it gets really complex, especially across like thousands and thousands of websites. That's just tough to do. And yeah. Is it possible to get multiple screenshots with a scroll down type effect? You know, there is a plugin called, let's see if I can find it. There's a plugin called Go Full Page Screen Capture. So like if we go to apple.com, and we know that this is obviously a long scrolling website. It should, I'm basically saying it should be possible, but me personally, I don't know how. But with this plugin, it can capture the entire website as a single image. So I don't know if it's doing some fancy like stitching where it's taking a bunch of screenshots and stitching them all together or what. But this is sort of the I know it's possible because here it is in front of me. Just curious. Thanks for the help. Just curious, what are your top automation type platforms? I'm a big fan of Make.com, of course. I know Zapier is also really popular, but the problem with Zapier and these sort of, well, actually, I'll just very quickly show you why that's an issue. So Make.com, if you look at their pricing, I think it becomes pretty clear why it's not great. Or sorry, not that Make.com's not great, but Zapier is not great. So they price you at number of operations per month, which if we look at Zapier pricing, we'll find that Zapier pricing is like a order of magnitude, I believe. Also, so like, let's see, 10,000 tasks per month, it's like the same thing. Every time a node runs in Make, so like if I just select any node, anytime this runs, that will be 1 op. So as you can see with Make, if you're paying annually for 10,000 ops per month, you're paying $9 a month. But if you're doing the same thing on Zapier, you're paying like 40. And that's actually not even true because it looks like available up to 1.5 thousand tasks for 40 USD a month. but as you can see, like it's you're gonna need like a professional account, which is like $129 a month. So just in terms of cost, like Make is superior, and then also in terms of like flexibility, because Zapier is very linear with their workflows, but with we'll just keep using this. With Make, what you can do is you can go I guess the word is multi-dimensional. Multi-dimensional. You have like parallel processing as well. So as you build, you can account like this. Building this in Zapier would be 2 different workflows. So organizationally, this is like a lot more overhead mentally to think about when you're building. So my recommendation is always going to be Make. It's cheaper, it's got more features, it's more effective. All of those things make it just a superior platform, in my opinion. That's a lot nicer than what Zapier has. Going to have to look into Make. Yeah, definitely. Make is the superior platform, in my opinion. Favorite integrations in Make? Well, it's usually the same old, same old. It's OpenAI. And this is probably what we're going to be doing a lot of. You'll notice here that OpenAI has their brand new vision, endpoint, which lets you drop in like image URLs and query them. So like, for example, Patrick, if you had like a offshore resource go through each of these websites and use that plugin that I mentioned earlier and created, just drop them all into like a Google folder, you could very easily pull the URL from that Google Drive folder, pull the URL of the image inside of that Google Drive folder, plug it in right here, and then query it right here in this prompt box for using the prompt that we used earlier. So you would like go in here, drop that in here, and you could record that into like an Excel spreadsheet, a CRM, whatever you're using to track progress. But again, everything that we're doing here is like no-code platforms just make it easier for non-technical people to build very technical applications. However, these no-code platforms also have limitations. And in order to successfully build, well, in my experience, I have been successful building things only because I have a technical background. There have been times where there are very obscure, annoying problems that I know I can solve in code that I cannot solve in Make. And this has been true for not just Make, but also like Zapier as well. There are just simply technical hurdles that these no-code platforms are not good with. And in those situations, what I like to do is I like to stand up my own little server. So these nodes, again, are just APIs that you're calling for information. So when you get into one of these nodes, they ask you for information, like data, like what is the URL to this image? And it spits out also information. In this case, a yes or no text response. And so when there are like more complex problems, typically these tend to be like data structure issues. Like let's say you've got a CSV with 100,000 fields and you need to reduce it down to like 100. Make is not the right platform for it because you're going to go through your 10,000 operations in an instant. So that's where I come in. I build my own server using code, which will do all of that for you. That will cost you like, I don't know, maybe 3 cents for that entire operation. Probably less than 3 cents, honestly. And then you'll get the same result. And then we can push it back into our make automation and do all of those things there. So while no-code platforms are really nice, there are indeed big limitations that would prevent more enterprise applications from being developed. And this is why you want like a developer who's on board to build these sorts of things. Patrick, would you use Make to automate your emails or use a dedicated AI tool, type of tool like Sanebox? You know, I'm not super familiar with Sanebox. What is Sanebox? Best AI email organizer. Email management for any inbox. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I really dislike their landing page. Has nothing to do with their service. Maybe their service is good, but boy, you are just not supposed to put this 1 pixel colored border over your call to action button. So I mean, I'm judging a book by its cover here. I understand that, but like in this situation, I would build my own. I'd roll my own. But also, like, how are you automating? Like, what do you need from Sanebox? Like, are you looking for a specific type of email with specific type of content? Because we can build that and Make. And it would probably end up being cheaper and more flexible. And so you can get probably a lot more. Take 30 emails and give me summary of key items. Oh yeah, easily. Easily. Also, that's the kind of application that you would want like a custom endpoint built for, because this is going to be the kind of thing which will, like, you're talking about going into your inbox, taking, you know, potentially hundreds of emails, summarizing them into one big text lump, and then chucking them into OpenAI to give you a summary of all of the different things. Like, that's going to be expensive for you operationally. And so, like, I would run a server here to process those emails and create that sort of text corpus without having to rely on Make to do that. You know, 30 emails, 30 operations, and then another 30 automations, concatenating all of those text blobs together and then chucking them into ChatGPT. That can get expensive quick. So you'd want a developer to build something custom for you to handle something like that, which wouldn't take that long. But to answer your question, I'd build my own. I'd build my own every time. And I can get more flexibility. Like, I can say, like, oh, you know, if an email is of this particular category, like if it's like, for example, one thing I've been thinking about building for a while now is, like, find emails that are, like, receipts. Like, look through an email body, classify it. If it's a receipt, file it under my receipts folder. And then, like, there can also be, like, social media. Actually, social media is bad because, like, I'm on top of that on the actual native platforms. I think a better example would be like newsletters. Yeah. So what we'll do is, let me see if I can just like literally build it right now and prototype it. Do I use Python? No, I'm a TypeScript developer. So if you're not familiar, TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. It just gives you like better type safety so that you don't have to guess what sort of types that you're working with. Okay. Actually, watch email is probably not correct. What we'll want to do is we'll probably want to read through all the emails. Looks like I don't get that option. Yeah, maybe we can just do that then. So let's say failed to load data. All right, we'll use the work email here, and we'll go through all mail. And let's say we create a filter type, and we won't call it simple filter, but no. Maximum number of results, let's just call it 100. So what we'll do is we'll create a trigger. It's always going to be the first node in your automation, which is essentially just when does this thing run? In this case, we're gonna let it run when we say we want to let it run, and it's going to process all of the emails that are within that criteria that we've built. So that's just a simple Gmail filter. So if you create a filter in Gmail and you specify all the newsletters that you subscribe to, you can essentially filter out all of the newsletters. And so what this will do is this will give us a big list of all the newsletters that we have. And then what we'll need to do is we might actually need to create a variable, text, multiple strings into one text. Text aggregator. That sounds useful. Okay, and here we have some text content from an email that we've got. So, whoops. Watch Gmail. So this should sum up all of the text content from everything within a specific filter in my Gmail. So from here, we're going to have a big text lump, a corpus, if you will. Actually, this is the wrong endpoint. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the create a completion endpoint. We're going to select GPT-4 because I got it like that. And then we're going to say summarize the following newsletters into a overview that's easy to digest. And then we're going to drop the text that we've created, that we've summarized, that we've aggregated. And then in theory, when we run this, we get a big, this will give us a big summary. So then, I don't want to just have to come here to read a summary. I want a summary in a nice format. So let's send an email to myself. My email is going to be anthony@latecheckout.studio. And the subject will be your weekly inbox summary. And the content will be the content output from ChatGPT. This is just what ChatGPT says. And then in theory, that's it. I've just rolled my own newsletter inbox summarizer. I have no email. I have no newsletters in my work email to test this on, but in theory, this is like what that would look like. Boom. Okay, next. Anyone else have any questions? Any interesting build concepts they have in mind? Patrick, this is awesome. Thanks. No, thank you for the suggestion. All right, we are coming up on time here. If anyone has any final thoughts before I hop off, now is the best time to do so. Otherwise, I am going to go and have a cup of coffee and maybe put something in my stomach. Okay, that looks like everything. Yeah, you're welcome, Patrick. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. If you don't have my email, it should just be anthony@latecheckout.studio. I'm going to drop that in chat real quick for y'all. Cool, Federal. Thanks, that was insightful. I'm glad you learned something. That is the entire goal of this show that we're doing. Trying to show you guys that AI is not just hype. It is very much a tool that we can use in our everyday lives. It just is a matter of understanding what it's capable of, what it's not capable of, and what it can talk to. I hope this stream was at least insightful in that regard. Jose, thanks for sharing. Yeah, always a pleasure. We'll be here next Wednesday as well. And hopefully next Wednesday when Ricky signs on, we're gonna actually build that automation that we designed for him. So that will be a fun one. Make sure you guys tune in for that. You guys should be getting an email with that as well, is my guess. But yeah, next week on Wednesday we'll build this whole thing and hopefully get onboarding up and running for him. Okay, if no one has anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and just end it here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you guys next week. Later.